Greetings, gamers! Welcome to the 10th installment of my Dissecting Rogue Decks series. This is going to be a very fun one. One of my 5 favorite archetypes of all time is Starry Knight, Starry Dragon, or the Starry Knight archetype. And the reason being for this is because it is a retrain of an old school Yu-Gi-Oh monster, Say Are You, one of the first 2 monsters I had in my possession, the other being Relinquished. Maybe that's why I love ritual summoning so much. I love Relinquished, do absolutely have a deck for that, but Say Are You is a very cool dragon. Literally, his name in Japanese is Holy Knight Dragon, and he references the birth of Christ. As you could potentially see, because I am unapologetically Christian, I absolutely love the fact that there is an archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! That unabashedly, metaphorically, showcases the advent and the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, of course, it is metaphorically, it's not directly, but it is definitely metaphorically and there, which is very cool. It's something that is very interesting to me that would ever happen in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially with the fact that the Japanese are very spiritualistic, but not at all Christian or any of the sort like that. So it's just an interesting thought to me, and I really love it as that kind of representation. I really love how a lot of things like that get representation in this. And if I were to make my own card game personally, I would do the same. I would have representation of a lot of different things in history as well as fantasy, both high medieval fantasy or future fantasy or past fantasy. I just think those are genius things to do, to give like some kind of context to the whole world around us being as big as it is. It's just a beautiful thing. But without further ado, it is time to get into Starry Night. And here is my deck. I have dubbed it Christios Might as a bit of a pun, because since this is metaphorically representing Christ and his advent, I thought I would sort of make like a hint towards it. So, Starry Night, Holy Night, Christios Might. This is a very, very fun deck because it's not like most other archetypes in the sense that your own boss monster constantly wants to be returned to your hand. That's not realistically. So the very first card I have is Barrier Statue of the Heavens. Neither player can special summon monsters except light monsters. So I don't have this card because I want to shut down my opponent. I have this card because it just works with Ties of the Brethren. Since all of my normal summons and all of my lesser monsters that aren't boss monsters in this deck are level 4s, and they're light. So they're fairy as well. They're all light level 4 fairies. So it just makes sense to have something like this as an option. Normally, I don't ever summon it, and sometimes, even if it's in my hand, I don't put it on the field. I think that the Barrier Statue of the Heavens is probably the best Barrier Statue, though, and it has to do with the following card, Honest. So the reason why this is because Barrier Statue doesn't really have any protection. None of these statues have protection. If you have any kind of monster over 1,000 attack points, you can just beat them. Just beat them. So it's like, okay, you stopped me from special summoning on my before my battle phase, which was something that was powerful maybe in the 2-card combo era of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not powerful anymore. Most decks don't win by battle. They win by negate boards. So they don't care about this. And it makes a lot of sense to me as to the reason why that the barrier statues aren't even limited. They're not even semi-limited, except for one. I think the barrier statue of wind is banned, like just hard stop banned, and it's kind of a bit wild to me that that's the case. I know it was a problem with Flowendrees because Flowendrees is a normal summoning deck that just continues to normal summon and normal summon and normal summon. So locking your opponent out of special summoning anything but wind monsters would be annoying, but also maybe I just don't know enough about this, and that's perfectly fine because, again, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a huge game of over 12,000 cards with many different players and formats and so on and so forth, so there is that to take into account. It's just that I don't really realistically think that these cards are all that powerful. It's also why I only have one of them. I thought about, for the longest time, removing it just so I could have 3 Honest, because I have 3 Honest that I could put into this deck, but I think 2 is fine. Now, the reason why, again, I said that this is a really great card is because Honest can protect Barrier Statue of the Heavens during the battle phase. So if my opponent decides to attack my Barrier Statue of the Heavens, it has to be in attack position, not in defense, in attack position. I can throw away an Honest and protect that monster. Moving on to my actual archetype. With Honest, during your main phase, you can return this face-up card from the field to the hand. So this is only useful if you special summon this card for a play or something, or you summon it for like extra damage. I still would never do this, because if your opponent has something like Mirror Force, your Honest is dead. Ties of the Brethren summons from the deck 2 monsters that are of the same level as a monster that you already have on the field. It has to be the same level, type, and attribute, but with different names. So what this means is you can get an Honest to your field and then put it back into your hand. This is an amazing effect. During the damage step, when a light monster you control battles, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. That monster gains attack equal to the attack of the opponent's monster it is battling until the end of this turn. This is not once per turn, so if you had 3 Honest in your hand, you could just throw them all in there. You could actually OTK your opponent pretty quick. If your opponent had like a 4,000 attack point monster and you had Barrier Statue of the Heavens on the field, your opponent attacks into you, you had 3 Honest, you could just do this multiple times, and then your opponent would literally OTK himself, which is hilarious. I love Honest. I think it's a very fun card, and if I'm running a fairy deck, a ritual fairy deck particularly, we're going to see that later, or any deck that can use him to a good extent, I pretty much will always have him, because I just think it's fun. I have Starry Night Rael, which is the very first of the Starry Night monsters. So Starry Night is the actual archetype. It's funny, because just like Monarchs generically support tribute summon monsters, though they have their own archetypal monsters, it's just like this with Starry Night. Starry Night generically supports all level 7 light dragon monsters. All of them. Doesn't matter who they are in the game. Because of just the way that this archetype had to be built. It had to be built around the ability to be able to use the original Seiyaryu, which is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting indeed. But it still has archetypal monsters, and the archetypal monsters help with the support of these things. So, when this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 Starry Night spell and trap from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Starry Night monster in your graveyard, except Starry Night Rael, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Starry Night Rael once per turn. I think... yeah, this does not allow you to summon Starry Night Dragon from the graveyard, because Starry Night Dragon is a Starry Night as an N-I-G-H-T, whereas Starry Night monsters are K-N-I-G-H-T. Very weird, very strange. I kind of wish that Starry Night Starry Dragon was K-N-I-G-H-T so that he could be supported in that way, but he doesn't really need it, because you don't want to special summon him from the grave anyway. Now, him being able to add a spell and trap to your hand would make you think, well, Gamerman, why aren't you running this at 3? It's actually because I'm running 3 Orbitael. I think Orbitael is a far and away better card than this. Like, far and away better card. There is some implications about Orbitael that makes him less good, but I just think he's better in general. Starry Night Estelle is next. You can target 1 light monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, special summon 1 level 7 light dragon monster from your hand. This is a quick effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 level 7 light dragon monster you control. It gains 1,000 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. I actually think this 1,000 attack could be permanent, and it wouldn't be powerful even remotely, but we're talking about, again, an era where this came out was 2-card combos. I actually think this came out before 2-card combos were like a mainstay, because this isn't really even a 2-card combo deck. It's really not. It's just a a combo deck kind of. It's a menagerie if we were going to throw it out there. Orbitail is the most important piece of this deck, especially for extension, as well as just getting my stuff on the field, and you can do it in multiple ways. So quick effect, you can target one light monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, set one Starry Night spell and trap directly from your deck. If a face-up level 7 light dragon monster you control returns to the hand while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effective Starry Night Orbitail once per turn. So he's basically a Rail, but better in some ways, but also worse in others. So both Rail and Orbitail have the ability to get you a Starry Night spell and trap from your deck. One is to your hand, one is to the field. And then they both have the ability to special summon a monster from the grave. Rail has to banish itself to get another card on the field, another one of your Starry Nights on the field. Orbitail just has to have your light level 7 dragon monster return to your hand, which is par for the course with this archetype. Very easy to do. It's going to happen all the time. You're going to get Orbitail on the field all the time. You're going to be able to constantly have access to your cards from your deck. Orbitail is so good because Orbitail doesn't even have to tribute himself. So if you give yourself, like, for instance, a light kaiju, and you don't really need that kaiju, you could tribute that one turn, get one card, tribute Orbitail the next turn, or another monster the next turn, and so on and so forth. So you don't even have to tribute Orbitail. It's pretty darn good. I have 3 Radiant, the multi-dimensional kaiju. This is a light level 4 and level 7 fairy monster deck, mostly. So you would think that this is kind of pointless. There is very, very good reason why this card is in my deck, and you're going to see it when we get to Starry Night Balefire. Starry Night Starry Dragon is the boss monster of the deck, and an amazing card. One of my favorites of all time. He is the metaphorical representation of Jesus Christ. Now, is he actually Jesus Christ? Of course not. Of course not. It's just the metaphorical representation of his advent. It's very cool. I think that's very interesting. I just love this card. He is literally Say Are You. So if I go to Light level 7 Dragons Normal, Say Are You. Say Are You is a level 7 monster, dragon monster, who is 2500 attack, 2300 defense. Starry Night Starry Dragon is a level 7 dragon monster who is 2500 attack, 2300 defense. A mystical dragon that burns away the unworthy with its mystical flames. If you look closely at this dragon has both of its wings coming off of its arms, not off of separations on its body. So its wings are not separate from its arms. It has a feathered tail. Its wings are feathered. It has a segmented headpiece, as well as a lower axe-like jaw, and very, very old school feet. Very old school feet. Starry Night Starry Dragon is exactly this. Old school feet. He's got the feathered tail, though his tail is a little bit different in the fact that it also has the segmented portion. He has the segmented head, the lower axe-like jaw, his wings coming off of his arms, which are feathered. It's very beautiful. I love this card. This card is exceptionally good artwork. And it's the way to make retrains that look fantastic, but still have some Eldritch kind of vibe to them. Because here's the issue, is that modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Has kind of gone away from that a lot, especially with their, girly, lolly, nonsensical cards that don't no longer represent the game. Unfortunately, if you're one of those people who likes those, you're playing cards that don't represent the game. And I really seriously think that if you're an old school Yu-Gi-Oh player and you play stuff like, I don't know, Trap Tricks, and you look at those cards and you think that this is like Yu-Gi-Oh and like you're still playing the game, there's something kind of wrong with that picture, because they don't at all feel like Yu-Gi-Oh. It's definitely something that I would want with my own card game, is that the game functionally, even if it has many different archetypes, many different representations of things in history and stuff like that, to have some kind of recognizable form factor. Yu-Gi-Oh used to have this, and I'm glad that it has evolved with its art, because the fact of the matter is if you look at a lot of the old school art of their cards, they're bad. Like, the backgrounds are always like this. They're very weirdly colored, or or have like weird designs in the background that are just nonsensical. The monsters look not only eldritch, but very poorly designed. This looks like somebody drew this blindfolded. I'm not even trying to be mean. It just looks like somebody drew this blindfolded. Now, going back to Starry Night, Starry Dragon, if this card is normal or special summoned from the hand, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. This is actually really insanely good. And the reason why it is because this is not once per turn. This is every single time you special summon or normal summon Starry Night, Starry Dragon. Realistically, you're never normal summoning this, because if you have 2 level 4s on the field, you would rather get out one of your Xyz monsters and then special summon him with the effect of one of your Xyz monsters, or use a different effect, or so on and so forth, because it's just easier in that case. But he cannot be destroyed by battle with a dark monster or by a dark monster's effects. This is really cool. So he's just totally immune to dark monsters. Their effects cannot destroy him. Their effects, they cannot destroy him by battle. This is very cool. I wish he was just flatly immune, but we're talking about a card that was made during a time long ago. If he was made now, he would be flatly immune to dark monsters, period. He probably would take no damage from dark monsters as well. Once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster until the end phase. Also, this card can make a second attack in a row. I've misplayed this a few times where I have him and another monster, let's just say Jizukuru, on the field. And I banish my opponent's monster, then I attack with Jizukuru first, and then I try to attack with Starry Night, Starry Dragon. You must attack with Starry Night, Starry Dragon after you perform the banishment of your opponent's monster first. This is just absolutely necessary. It's part of his effect. I don't know why it has to be that way, but it just has to be. Now, I have 1 Protecting Spirit Logith. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 monster on the field. It cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, so protection for any one of your other monsters, including even Barrier Statue of the Heavens, or any of your other Starry Night monsters. You can only use each of the following effects of Protecting Spirit Logith once per turn. If an effect of a fairy monster you control is activated except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is pretty cool because all of my fairy monsters, except for Barrier Statue, have effects that activate on the field when they're summoned, or as a quick effect, or something of that sort. And then she just gets a free summon on the field. You can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and 1 attack position monster you control, banish that opponent's card, and if you do, change your monster to defense position. This is actually of 0 cost to you if you haven't... So, for instance, if Protecting Spirit Logith was not summoned this turn, but was summoned last turn, for instance, you can banish your opponent's monster, target this monster, and change this monster to defense position, but because you did not summon her this turn, you can turn her back to attack position. So it's a no-cost effect, which is kind of insane, but also it's not good in the modern sense, but it's still insane for like the formats that I play with this kind of deck. I have Thunder King, the Lightning Strike Kaiju, Jizukuru, the Star Destroying Kaiju. The only reason why I have 1 of each is just because of variety's sake. They're both the exact same monster, basically. I have 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, and then I have 1 Ties of the Brethren. This is actually one of the most important cards in this deck because it basically enables most of my plays. And it's not necessary in the sense that you don't have to have this in your deck to play a Starry Night, Starry Dragon deck, especially because it's a UR, and it, if I'm not mistaken, is obtained only in master packs. It does not have a pack it can be obtained from, so you have to build this or just get lucky. And that's pretty expensive. That's pretty darn expensive. We're talking about 90 UR points. You don't come across 90 UR points all that easily in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. It's one of the things that I have a big gripe with. You see my 9,738 normal, my 6,929 or 25 rare, and my 435 SR. Now my SR, I've been using that pretty flippantly, but not too long ago I had about 2,000 of it. So the issue is what I think is that you should just be able to take your normal points and divide them by 3, and they become rare points. And you should be able to take your rare points, divide those by 3, they become SR points. Your SR points, divide those by 3, they become UR points. Now, I don't think it should be any less than that. Like, I don't think it should be divided by 5 or 10, because then you would get nothing. I even think dividing by 3 is still kind of a bit crazy, because this 9,000, by the time it gets to the UR points, would be like in the hundreds at the most, which is still a lot. But it's also kind of not a lot, because you need 30 UR points to craft a single UR card. If there was some way to exchange your crafting points from one to another like this, it would be amazing, because I would be done with all of my decks, because most of all of my decks just need UR points left, and that's kind of a bit of a struggle. So Ties of the Brethren. Pay 2,000 life points, then target one level 4 or lower monster you control for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters. Also, special summon 2 monsters from your deck with the same type, attribute, and level as that monster, but with different names from each other and that monster. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. You don't care if this destroys your battle phase. You don't care about any of that. You don't care that you can't special summon after this card resolves. You can actually use your other effects in the deck to special summon during the chain that you use this card, so you don't even really destroy your complete ability to special summon. It's just after this card effect resolves, you cannot special summon anything else. So you just have to be careful in that consideration. You'd want to chain something to this effect after you've activated it. Obviously, you can't do it before because it's a normal spell, spell speed 1, all that rigmarole. So it's very good, because basically if I get any one of my level 4 light fairy monsters, anyone, and Ties of the Brethren in my hand, I can summon any one of them, normal summon, and then use Ties of the Brethren to get any of the other 2 that I need. And then my plays are fully set up. I have 1 Pot of Avarice, which is very important, 2 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. I have 2 Return of the Dragon Lords. Target 1 level 7 or 8 dragon monster in your graveyard, special summon it. If a dragon monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. I thought about using a different card here, which is Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lord, which is basically a skill drain as long as you have a level 7 or 8 dragon monster on your field. And you can skill drain your opponent's other monsters, which is pretty cool, except for the monsters that are summoned from the graveyard. I thought about that, and honestly, this would be a very good tech card to put in this deck. Maybe, potentially, instead of Ties of the Brethren, if you couldn't afford Ties of the Brethren, replace them with 3 Return or Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords. I would still probably keep Return of the Dragon Lords in your deck, because having a monster reborn to get your Starry Night, Starry Dragon from the graveyard back onto your field and then potentially back into your hand is just really good. Now here is a very interesting card. I have Starry Night's Balefire. This is actually the reason why I have 3 Radion, the multidimensional kaiju. So add 1 Starry Night monster or 1 level 7 light dragon monster from your deck to your hand. Then, if you control no monsters and your opponent controls a dark monster, you can special summon 1 light level 7 dragon monster from your hand. You can only activate 1 Starry Night Balefire per turn. This is a very powerful card. For it being an older archetype, this is a very, very powerful card. There are very few Rotas in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That allow you to generically summon a monster, as well as summon generically summon a monster, or generically search a monster in the level 7 light dragon monsters, whilst also allowing you to specifically good grief, edit this all out. This is a very powerful card. There are very few Rotas in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That allow you to generically search a level 7 dragon monster or generically search any monster, whilst also archetypally, edit that out, whilst also allowing you to search through an archetype monsters and then giving you a free summon if your opponent controls a certain monster. So Radiant is a dark monster. If I have Radiant and Balefire in my hand, as long as my opponent has a monster, so this is a going second move. This deck actually doesn't mind going first or going second, by the way. So as long as I have Radiant and Balefire in my hand and my opponent has a monster on the field, if my opponent has whatever attribute of monster he has, doesn't matter. If it's not dark, I can use Radiant, get him on the field, and then I can use Balefire, and I can search either a light level 7 dragon monster or one of my Starry Knights, and then I can summon a light level 7 dragon monster in my hand. You do not have to search a level 7 dragon in order to summon it. So if you already have one in your hand, you could search something like Orbitail, and then still special summon the level 7 dragon monster in your hand that you already have there. So this is very cool, very powerful. It's probably my favorite card in the archetype just because it does something that most other Rhodas could not imagine doing, which is very cool, especially for such an older archetype. It's probably why you would never see this thing be limited. Nobody's ever going to play Starry Nights. It's just not happening. Next on the list is Starry Night Sky. This is my field spell. During your main phase, you can normal summon one Starry Night monster or one level 7 light dragon monster in addition to your normal summon set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. During your turn, if a face-up light level 7 dragon monster you control returns to the hand, you can draw one card. You can only use this effect of Starry Night Sky once per turn. You'll notice that I have a lot of one-ofs in this deck. And the reason why, instead of having multiples, in fact, I have three. One continuous spell, one continuous trap, and the field spell are only one of. They're all searchable. And I even have recurrence. Now, if they're destroyed and then I don't have the recurrence active or live or anytime soon, I do kind of miss out on a lot of my abilities, but there are still ways to make sure that I'm still getting my engine going, regardless in this deck. This is a fun card because, like I said, the entire point of this deck is to return and resummon Starry Night, Starry Dragon. And because of this, you're getting a draw every time you do that. That's very good. And then the two normal summon sets, including your one tribute summon of your light level 7 dragon monster, is pretty good. So this will allow you to basically get past special summoning being limited. For instance, if your opponent's playing Vanity's Fiend or something of that sort. But again, this is not a competitive deck. I'm dissecting rogue decks for a reason. You're probably not looking at like all the facets of, well, what happens if I face stun while fighting this deck? How am I going to win? Unfortunately, you might not win. That's just how that goes. Next is Starry Night Ceremony, continuous spell. During your main phase, you can reveal one light fairy monster in your hand, and if you do, add one level 7 light dragon monster from your deck to your hand. Then place that revealed monster on the bottom of your deck. That's really cool searcher power. It's basically Balefire, but it has a cost. You have to put one of your monsters back in the deck. Now, this doesn't really matter if you already have like a Orbitail on the field. You already have stuff working. You don't really care if you put something back into the deck because you don't really need multiple copies of these cards in play. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon one light level 7 dragon monster from your hand. You can only use one Starry Night Ceremony effect per turn and only once that turn. So this is a hard limit. Hard once per turn. You can only either search or special summon in response to your opponent's activation of a card once per turn. Realistically speaking, you're probably only ever going to do one search with this card, and then after that it's just going to be punishment against your opponent's activations. I do have one double or nothing. When a monster's attack is negated, target that monster. It can make a second attack during this battle phase, and if it does, its attack is doubled during the damage step only. This is very cool. This could make something like your Starry Night, Starry Dragon 5,000 attack, or something like your Jizukuru or Thunder King 6,600 attack, which is pretty darn powerful, all things considered. I do have ways to facilitate this completely, especially because I'm running nothing but level 4 light fairy monsters, which just is pretty darn great. You can use things like the Utopias, which is very good. I have one Jar of Avarice, of course, and then I have 3 Starry Night Blasts. This is the only one of my traps that I'm running 3 of because it's an Omni Negate. So this deck has some level of Omni Negate, but it also facilitates your return and resummon mechanics in the deck, which is very good. The only thing I have a gripe with concerning this card is that it is not a counter trap. So many archetypes that are built now, and especially around this time or later, had their negates as counter traps. And I really wish this was a counter trap, because if it was, I think this archetype would be a little bit more competitive. It's still good, because it's still an omni-negate of pretty much everything except for summons, and that's useful. So when your opponent activates a card or effect, return one level 7 light dragon monster you control to the hand, negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only activate Starry Night Blast once per turn. This was very fun, very interesting, a very cool card, and I absolutely love the fact that Starry Night Dragon has access to this. So there's a lot of combos with this deck. Basically what you would want to do is you would want to have Orbitail out on your field. You would want to search out Starry Night Blast, put that on your field. You would want to get like your next card, Starry Night Arrival, on the field, and then you'd want to summon your Starry Dragon, and then while he's on the field, wait till your opponent activates something that's pertinent. Then you would use your Starry Night Blast to just destroy that. Negate and destroy that effect. So Starry Night Arrival is the last main deck card. During the main phase, you can activate one of these effects. Target one light level 7 dragon monster you control, return it to the hand, or special summon one light level 7 dragon monster from your hand. You can only use this effect of Starry Night Arrival once per turn. More facilitation of your monster being summoned. After that is my extra deck. So numbered 39, Utopia, 2 level 4 monsters. When a monster declares an attack, you can detach one material from this card, negate the attack. This is how you can really take advantage of Utopia Double. Or Double or Nothing, I should say, not Utopia Double. If this card is targeted for an attack while it has no material, destroy this card. So that's unfortunate, but typically you're not going to worry about that. You're going to be going in for game with this card, more or less. I have number 41, Baguska, the Terribly Tired Taper. He's 2 level 4 monsters. Once per turn during your standby phase, detach one material from this card if you cannot destroy it. This attack position card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot target this attack position card with effects. While this card is in face-up defense position, change all face-up monsters on the field to defense position. Also negate the activated effects of monsters that were in defense position when that effect was activated. So he is basically like a skill drain. One of the reasons why I decided not to run Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords, because I do have a skill drain within my extra deck, and that's the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh, right? The extra deck makes certain strategies and certain things way too consistent, like skill drain. I don't need skill drain in the deck. I don't have to worry about hard drawing into it because I have monsters in my deck that just allow me to XZ summon over them and get something like Baguska. And then there you go. I'm just winning. Number 39, Utopia Double, 2 level 4 monsters. Quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, add one Double or Nothing from your deck to your hand, then special summon from your extra deck one Utopia XZ monster. Except number 39, Utopia Double. By using this face-up card, you control its material, and if you do, its attack becomes doubled, but it cannot attack directly. This is treated as an XZ's summon. Transfer its materials to the summoned card. You can only use this effect of number 39, Utopia Double, once per turn. So you would never summon Utopia Double if you already had Double or Nothing in your hand. You would only be summoning him if you did not have it in your hand, then you would summon Utopia. And the reason why this is because if you have it in your hand, you can't get this effect off. I mean, you could have more Double or Nothing, but I don't see why you would, because it's searchable, and it's not a mainstay piece of your deck. I have one number 60, Dugaries, the Timeless. 2 level 4 monsters. You can detach 2 materials from this card, then activate one of the following effects. Skip your next draw phase, also draw 2 cards, then discard one. Skip your next main phase 1. Also special summon 1 monster from your graveyard in defense position. Skip the battle phase of your next turn. Also double the attack of 1 monster you control until the end of this turn. This is actually super powerful. You could end up getting some pretty insanely powerful monsters on the field using this. I almost never summon this in this deck though, and the reason why is because I really just want Utopia Double, Utopia, or the next card, which is Starry Night. The XZ's card for this archetype that came way later. We're talking about, this was many years after the fact. It's not even found in the pack of the Starry Nights, which is very weird. Dragon Luster is where they're found, but this isn't found in Dragon Luster. Very strange. You can detach one material from this card, special summon one light monster from your hand. This does not discriminate. You can special summon any light monster from your hand. It could be any one of your level 4s. It could be your Starry Knight, Starry Dragon. It could be a kaiju if you don't control one. That's pretty darn cool. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can target one level 4 light fairy monster you control, special summon this card, and if you do, attach that monster to this card as material. You can only use each effect of Starry Knight once per turn. This is actually limitless, by the way. If you have Orbitail and you have Starry Knight, Starry Dragon working in your field, and in play and you're using their effects, you can continuously get this monster summoned to your field. You can use Starry Knight's graveyard effect to get Starry Knight onto the field by using your Orbitail. And then once you detach Orbitail to special summon a Starry Knight, Starry Dragon, Orbitail's back in the graveyard and his effect is live again. So if you return one of those dragons, you're going to get Orbitail back on the field. And when you get Orbitail back on the field, what you would then do, crazy, you would tribute Starring Knight by Orbitail's effect to get Starring Knight into the graveyard, get one of your spells and traps to your hand, and then you could use Starring Knight's effect again next turn. It's actually really fun, really cool. I have number 11 Big Eye for monster control. I have Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon for punishment of my opponent using cards and effects. I have Divine Arsenal Zeus, because any deck that uses XZs should have Zeus. I have Typhon as a skill drain and punishment for my opponent's spamming of special summoning. And then I have Hippo Shinnigan. So 2 light monsters. All light monsters on the field gain 500 attack and defense. Also, all dark monsters on the field lose 400 attack and defense. This can be relevant. I don't really think this is relevant typically. What's most important about this card is that if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one light monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of Hippo Shinnigan once per turn. So it is recursion of your light monsters. I have IP Masquerena so that I can basically use her to summon Mech Knight Crusadia Evermax and give him some extra protection. I also have Lina the Light Charmer so that I can take one of my opponent's light monsters from his graveyard to link climb so I could get something like Avermax. And then also there's some recursion. So if this link summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in its owner's monster zone, don't understand why it says that part, you can add one light monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So that's pretty good. Avermax is good, but almost never going to be seen as summoned in this deck because it's hard to summon. It's a Link 4 with 2+ monsters, special summon from the extra deck being required. The only way you're summoning this over only 2 monsters is if those 2 monsters are level 2 or Link 2 Link monsters. Everything else, you're going to need more monsters. So if you had like a Link 2 IP and then you had like, I don't know, Starring Knight, you would also need Utopia on the field or another Starring Knight in order to summon this. So it's not exactly great, but when I do get it out on the field, if I do, it can become a pretty decent boss monster to help me deal with my opponent's special summoned monsters. So when this Link summoned card is on the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, their monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. So if he's summoned by IP Masquerena, a Link monster that used this card as material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. So not only can he not be targeted, but he cannot be destroyed. And then he must be the one who's targeted for attacks. Once per battle, during damage calculation, if this card battles a special summon monster, quick effect, you can make this card gain attack equal to that opponent's monster's attack during that damage calculation only. So basically like a built-in Honest. If this Link summoned card you control is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you can shuffle one card on the field into the deck. Sometimes you can misplay or miss timing of his gain of attack, which is really weird. It's happened to me before, and I'm not sure exactly why, honestly. But that's pretty much the entire showcase of my Christios Might deck. It is time to get into the demonstration. Alright, so Christios Might does not care if it goes first or second, so I'm just going to pick random and see what I get, and going second is apparently what I'm getting. So going second, while playing a deck that likes to use traps is obviously not great, but there's a lot of benefits to it. And the reason why is because this deck just doesn't really care in either case what I do. So I could use Barrier Statue, but I'm actually not going to. And the reason why is because I would like Starry Night Astel to be on the field. I'm going to Starry Night Sky. See, this is kind of crazy. So I misplayed there. I could have put Starry Night Sky on the field and then summoned Barrier Statue and then summoned Starry Night Astel. Misplays do happen occasionally. I actually would have loved that because then I could have used Barrier Statue as tribute fodder on my opponent's turn. What a shame. So now I'm going to go ahead and use this. Orbitail, and you are honest right here. I'm going to obviously tribute you. And Balefire come into my field. So obviously this wouldn't be useful if my opponent's turn, like I brought the Balefire to my opponent or to my field on my opponent's turn. That's just not very, doesn't have a real point to it, but it's okay. Either way, I'm actually perfectly fine because I have a monster that allows me to quick effect tribute summon or special summon my Starry Night on the field. And I'm going to do exactly that. I'm so glad that Starry Night Starry Dragon has a summon effect. I'm so glad. It's such a beautiful card, such an awesome artwork. I just love it entirely. So I could give myself 1,000 extra attack. I typically don't do this unless I know that I'm going to go for game on that turn. And then, I mean, I could put another Orbitail on the field. Actually, this is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Barrier Statue, which is interesting, to say the least. A lot of people would say, man, Gamerman, you're kind of crazy for that. I'm going to put Starry Night Arrival on the field. And then I'm going to go to attack. Alright, so your opponent cannot target Palace of the Elemental Lords. Once per turn, you contribute one monster special summon one Element Saber monster from your deck with a different original attribute than that monster's. Do I want to... This could be... I don't know if I want to negate this. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and negate this. Goodbye, your monster is destroyed. I get to draw one card, and I also get Orbitail on the field. I could have just put him in attack mode and gotten the extra attack, but realistically, 400 extra damage is not really going to do anything for me. I'm actually going to summon Starry Night here, and the reason being is because I would love to get my Starry Dragon back on the field to destroy this trap, because this is not once per turn. Absolutely adore that. Now I'm going to end my phase. And now it is my opponent's turn. One level 4. Use the effect now. You can come right back to my hand. And Orbitail comes right back to my field. which is perfectly fine because I'm also going to tribute Orbitail yet again, and I'm going to bring a Starry Night Blast to my field, just for the sake of protection. Now I have two. Okay, I'm not going to use that effect. I have two Starry Night Starry Dragons, which is pretty cool. I can go ahead and destroy my opponent's monster that's face down. I can go to battle, take a little bit damage off the top. I wasn't going to win there, even with that extra 1,000, so there's no point. Target one level 7 light dragon monster you control, return it to the hand. I want to draw one card, and then also put Orbitail on the field. Perfect. So I already went through my battle phase, so I can't do anything with Ties to the Brethren, which is very unfortunate, but that's just how things go at times. I'm going to go ahead and send you to the grave. And now I have this here, which is really cool because I can even use this effect to go ahead and send back Flamel to grab another Starry Night Starry Dragon. And time to tribute my Orbitail, as well as get my Starry Night Starry Dragon back on the field. Obviously, I'm going to destroy my opponent's set, spell, and trap, because why wouldn't I? And then another Starry Night Blast. And you can kind of see just how pretty crazy powerful this deck could become, especially in this type of I want to say, I can't really say meta in my type of format that I'm playing. It's just pretty darn powerful. All the effects going off one after another, which is pretty, it's just great. I absolutely love this deck. It's a lot of fun, and one of my favorite archetypes for a good reason. There you have it. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. While you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.